definition. So it's going to, so the view resolver, what it does, you'll see we get a priority of 1 here. So we have 2 view resolvers. The first one is it's going to go to is our tile view resolver. It's going to say, is there something that matches this view key? Our view key coming back from the controller was event/list. You can see right here, a normal view, event/list. So it's going to go in there and say, is there something that matches it? Well, going through the tiles definition, it's going to go through that represents the definition name. You see event/list. It says, yes, I got one matching. I'm going to pull and use this particular item here. Now, by default, it's just pulling up the view. That's no big deal in and of itself. But what we can do from the client side is we can identify which fragments we want to come back. And a fragment in our particular application represents one of these named items. So if we wanted to just refresh the sidebar, we can tell it at the client side, go do this request for this view, but only return back the sidebar or only refresh the event list. The event list, of course, is what I'm returning because as we change the year filter here on page, we just want this list on the right refreshed. We don't want the whole page refreshed. And we'll see how that comes into play here. So let me pull it up and see here. There we go. So this is my sidebar page right here. So eventfilter.jsp. You can see here I've got year, I've got a string form defined here with year, the column, the ordering. Again, I'm using these decorations. Instead of using the validation decorations that we were using on form before to validate input, we're using one of these Ajax event decorations. What this tells it is, for this field, we have year here, so if we're changing year, we have the field named year right here. For year, when we change the field, I want it to submit this particular form. Here's the parameters that I want to send along with it. In addition to the form parameters, because it's going to post the form, it's going to do an Ajax, using Ajax instead. Here's the things I want to, the fragments I want to send back instead. Okay, so let's take the sidebar one out. And let's go back to our page. So we wrote this. Okay, you'll see a number of requests go here, but the one I want to see is the last one here, it's the event one. So let's look at the request content. So, let's see, actually, we're going to request right here. No, it's not being here. All right, let's see here. So here's the content that comes back. That's not that one. That should be right in here. Okay, so let's change clear this out. We'll change. Okay, this is the one we want to see. So we have events coming back. So we have our request. You can see it's requesting events, and it's got the post. We've got to type Ajax. Let's look at our parameters here. So down here below is our form data. So it sent all our form back. It sent this fragment item back. You can see here fragments event list. We look at the content. It's not sending the whole page back. What it's sending is one div that represents the content of our event list. So if we went to our tiles definitions and went to the event list one, we would see an item with this event list with all the people iterated through, and that's all that's coming back. If we refresh the whole page, it's going to have the HTML, body, head, all those things with all the different fragments. This is just coming back with the one fragment. If we change the declaration on our item here, we said, well, for some reason we want both back. So I'll just change that here. Reload page. You see that, put that list for us instead. So again, let's change this to 2012. We get a thing back. Here's our content. Now we'll see the event list one. We'll see down here below. You see the sidebar one coming back as well. So what it's doing with the client side code, the Dojo code, so the tile side, it returns fragments back. We have two fragments coming back. Well, what does our client side code do with those? It finds fragments on the page that have the same ID and replaces the content of those particular div elements with the code that we get back. So, important thing when you are developing a Spring.js is that, first of all, your names here, your attribute names match the IDs, the root IDs of your fragment. So if I have a sidebar attribute name, I need to have sidebar ID on my root div of my fragment. And then finally, I need to have, whenever I do a fragment, that fragment name needs to also match. Those three things match, everything works perfectly the first time. The documentation, which isn't expansive, does not go over putting that ID on your fragment, and that killed me for a couple hours trying to figure out why I was doing something wrong. Just putting that ID on it, once figuring out what the client-side code is trying to do, everything worked much better. So if you put those in, you can do all this Ajax fragment replacement without having to really do any JavaScript code. And that's really the strength on this thing. I know a lot of the Java developers I know don't feel very comfortable with JavaScript. They do minimal client-side interactions, maybe some animations, a little simplistic drag and drop, maybe some client-side validation using JQuery or some other library. But when they actually get into doing some kind of dynamic fragment replacement, templating on the client side, they feel very uncomfortable. Putting something like this in place can allow them to use their existing Java skill set. If they're using Spring MVC, they can use their Spring MVC skills. They can write their JSPs just like they write today. If I look at my list page again, it shows the list. There's not really any JavaScript in here. It's just a regular page. I've got my for each. I'm putting a list of events together with links, tags that I'm normally using. The only thing that's different is I've got this little JavaScript fragment here that says run these with Ajax at the end. So not a lot of JavaScript there, just these little decorators in different places. So they can write their normal server-side code, and it's an easy way to gradually move into the dynamic Ajax enabling of our websites. So let me show you one thing here with that. So you saw I put some Ajax listeners on my table listeners. So we click on one of these people here. We can use this on forms just as well as lists. So I clicked over on the link, and it pulls up the person here. I can sit here and change whatever I want. I'm going to actually close this developer for now. Click save. If I click save, then it shows up here again. Oh, this was a little bug that I found. For some reason, it's not retaining my list over here. So we'll pick something on the 2011 list. We put a name there, hit save. We can see it's reflected over here. Swapping in and out. I wouldn't normally put an edit screen on the left side of the page, but I want to show how easy it is to actually swap fragments in and out. All these links here, we'll go back to the code again. For each one it says, do the Ajax decoration. We're going to take the ID of the element. When we click on it, we're going to refresh the sidebar. So we're going to take that content, put it in the sidebar, which makes it really easy to do. And you can, of course, do your regular server-side validation that you would do here. So if we have a required element on a name, it comes back. Now that server-side validation that happened there, I can use my JSR 303 validators, my Spring validators, or however I want to do my server-side validation. And as long as that's bringing it back in the regular JSP page, then it's also going to be reflected in my fragment. So again, a very easy way to gradually introduce somebody to doing some of this Ajax scripting. If you need to augment different pieces of a website, this is a very easy way to do it without your group having to come completely on board with JavaScript. Do you have any questions about what I've shown so far, Spring.js? Okay. We'll move forward to the next bit that makes me a little bit more excited, and that is working with jQuery. Sometimes doing server-side, dynamic server-side components is not enough. We've done it with Ajax for JSF, we've done it with Wicked, we maybe use some other frameworks there where we try to do all this JavaScript behavior in our Java code server-side. And there's great frameworks out there like GWT that can help with that as well. But sometimes with GWT we have to adopt a whole methodology and a way of how we're going to build our application. And that isn't always attractive when you're starting from scratch, or I mean when you're not starting from scratch. So another way to do this is by using our existing code and moving some of our stuff more client-side. The more stuff you move client-side, the less server interaction, the better performance you can potentially get out of the website. So the second example I'm going to show here, it's actually the same website, just using JQuery templates, is the events thing. It's the same thing. You can see the exact same behaviors out of it, but it's got a little bit different stuff in it. So let's look under the hood and see what it's doing instead. So this is a new demo. We've got, this one's using jQuery 1.5 and it's using jQuery templates. jQuery templates is a JavaScript templating engine that was developed in partnership with Microsoft. There's a number of other JavaScript templating engines out there that you can use. Mustache, Handlebars, whatnot. They all do a lot of similar things that I'm going to show tonight. I'm just going to show you just a little taste of it. Maybe get you excited to add a little bit more JavaScript to your websites as well. So I've got the jQuery coming in, as well as JavaScript or jQuery templates. Got my regular page here with the form filters and everything like that. The tiles are stripped out of it. Right here is my template. So you can see a jQuery template defined here. jQuery templates are basically, you take a div or a JavaScript segment and you put some templated parameters into it, and then you can leverage that in your jQuery code. Right now, I've got a JSON AJAX call going in to grab my data. So I actually use the exact same controller I'm using in my Spring MVC right now, but how do you return the JSON instead? I'm using the Jackson library, which is built into Spring MVC. Comes back with JSON instead. It takes that JSON and for each element that comes back in the AJAX call, it's going to empty the table body. It's going to use my template up here using the TMPL tag. That basically compiles and binds the data to the template above. Basically does like a for each against all the parameters in it, and that's going to append it back to the event table. So just looking, you can look at the controller code on your own when I post it here in a couple of days. But let me just show you here on the client side really quick what kind of data is coming back from the clients. So if I reload this page again, let's just do the last one here. Oh, okay. Let's see. Let's pull this up. So here's the get here, and you can see that we've just got JSON coming back. This is coming back from one of our Spring MVC controllers, just converted over to return JSON instead of a JSP page. And it iterates through that using our jQuery template, just using the for each. Very easy to style your templates there. Very easy to move that stuff client side. So I would encourage you to take a look at something like jQuery templates or something else, because as it's real easy to adapt an existing website using Spring MVC to augment it a little bit with some of this dynamic functionality. But if you really want to get the full experience and do all the different dynamic things that our clients are asking for now, looking at one of these JavaScript templating engines can really help you to maintain that better, to use JSON service and RESTful services instead, and you can get better performance out of it. Do you have any questions about the jQuery templating that I presented? All right, well, I appreciate your time. Sorry for all the bumps and everything, but I appreciate being here. And if you have any questions, again, my email here is gone again. Right there, jeremy.r.lund@gmail.com. The code again will be posted on GitHub under the London user. So, thank you for your time. Thank you.